Would you rather be beautiful and stupid or unattractive and brilliant?
Well, I think that's what I am.
Welcome to CelinaRadio.com. Recorded right here in Celina, Texas, a quiet little dusty, sleepy town that has absolutely nothing going on. Guys, welcome to CelinaRadio.com and to Celina, Texas, where we've got all kinds of things going on. We've got an amazing guest today, somebody that's got such a servant's heart, somebody that volunteers all the time, somebody that fell in love with Celina, just moved here and embraced it. And you're going to love listening to our discussion. Now, his name happens to be KJ Clark. But before we get into that interview, I want to talk to you just a little bit about some of the stuff that's coming up right now. And when I say some of the stuff that's coming up, we find ourselves right now on the doorstep of another round of local elections. We've got 2 city council seats up. We've got the mayor's position up. And you know, it's going to get ugly before it gets pretty again because everyone's already kind of jockeying for position. Everyone's already kind of, well, gosh, for months and months now, people have already been trying to win this next election. Sometimes you just don't know it unless you know what to look for, but all the photo opportunities and all of the, well, we won't get into all that stuff, but there's a lot. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what you can expect coming up with all of this political stuff. And we're going to get into this interview with KJ. We're going to talk to him, why he loves Celina so much, what motivated him to move here, and yes, his absolutely incredible journey through the United States Marine Corps and the Army National Guard. So before we get into the politics and before we get into our interview with KJ, let me just address something that keeps coming up quite a lot lately, and that is what in the heck's going on in the Celina real estate market. It was a really aggressive seller's market for a while, and then things changed, interest rates went up, everybody got scared, and it became more of a buyer's market. And today, it seems like you can't really tell if it's a seller's market or a buyer's market because you see signs of both kinds of market right now. You hear stories about homes that go on the market and sell for really, really high prices, and then you see evidence of homes that sit there. You see the sign in the yard for a long time, and price reduction after price reduction. It's just an absolutely crazy market right now, and it literally depends more today on your particular product, your home, how well it's desired by people who are in the market and what they're willing to pay for it. The whole idea of doing comps and this is what it's really worth and this is what the market's doing, it's not slow enough for that now. You can't do it that way anymore. So it's a case-by-case basis. One thing that I will tell you I see a lot of people doing is after the fear of the interest rate situation, all the interest rates going up, after the fear of that initial hit that we took started to subside, people have started listing their homes for sale more and more in Celina. And at very high, more than normal market prices. And there's a lot of price reductions going on. There's a lot of homes that are just sitting there camping. Yeah, like I said, others are selling real quick. So here's my little bit of friendly advice, because this all sounds so super confusing, and I know it does. If you want to list right now, it's still a little early. Our best time is going to be as we push closer to spring and summer. Let the days get longer, let the days get warmer, let people get a little happier. Let us get a little bit further away from some of the interest rate stuff that just happened. And people are going to feel more confident and you'll be able to get a little more for your home. But if you do want to list it right now, or if you do need to list it right now, my advice would be to be very conscientious of the price point at which you enter the market. You need to look around make sure that your particular home, not just because it happens to be a house with an address on the front, therefore it's worth a ton of money. Look at all of the features, compare it to everything else out there. Don't worry about the comps. Look at what's out there right now. Look at what the buyers are actually seeing themselves. Price your home accordingly. Be very, very careful. Don't overprice it. The other thing that I can say is don't use a real estate agent that doesn't know this market. I see so many homes listed for sale right now with agents who literally have nothing to do with the Celina market. And we've got some amazing real estate talent right here in Celina, Texas. You don't need to use an agent who specializes in uptown in Celina. You're probably not going to end up on the better end of the deal when it's all said and done. All right, let's get back into this political thing just a little bit and talk about what's coming up. So like I said, mayor seat is up and 2 council positions are up. And one of the things that you're going to see, most likely see in this up and coming election is the typical thing that's kicked around so much on the message boards, which is small town versus developer, small town versus development. I'm just going to tell you right now, don't fall for that fiction. It's what it really is you've got 2 groups of people out there. You've got one group that understands that development is coming. There's nothing we can do to stop it. All of this stuff started back before 2003 when the board of directors of the North Texas Turnpike Authority, NTTA, decided that phase 4 of the North Dallas Tollway was going to come up and cross 380 and go all the way up through Celina to 428. When that happened many, many years ago, our fate was sealed as far as whether or not growth was coming. Our best option at this point is to manage that growth, to ensure that we control it to the best of our abilities, have it develop the way we want it to as a community, and to hold on to what makes us so amazing, which is our small town history and our small town feel. Now, the way it's going to shape up is the group that is anti-developer, anti-development, they're going to make it into 2 groups. They're going to polarize the city. They're going to try and say, hey, if you're not anti-development, you must be pro-development. You must be in the pockets of the developers, and you must be selling out our great city to all of these developers. When in reality, it's nothing like that. It's an effort to manage the growth. It's an effort to try and develop the city the way we want it to and not let developers come in and just take over with none of our ideas, none of our control features put in place so that they get to do anything they want to do. The people who work with the developers understand this. So what I'm going to ask you to do is don't fall for the fiction that it's us versus them. The us group being the small town, we want to keep it that way, build a wall around it and keep everyone out. That's all fiction and fantasy. It's not the way it is. Listen to the candidates, look at their actions, form your own opinions, and I think you'll see through some of the nonsense when people start trying to polarize us and split us up into 2 different segments of this community of anti-development and pro-development. Guys, I am here right now with somebody that you may already know. In fact, you would definitely know him if you went to the recent Toys for Tots event on the downtown square in Celina, Texas. And sitting in front of me today, I've got none other than KJ Clark. KJ, how you doing today, man?
I'm good. Glad to be here today, Ron.
Thank you for joining us, and I've gotten to know you a little bit over the past few weeks. We hooked up out there, shook hands, dropped off some toys, did some stuff. How was that event?
You know, this year, Toys for Tots was bigger than it's ever been in Celina because it's the 2nd year. So we started that last year, and it was one of these ideas where Rotary just wanted to do something different that had never been done in Celina. And the club just wanted to do what they could during the Christmas season to help Collin County children. I was very close to the Toys for Tots because it was also a Marine Corps project, and that's what I liked about it. So we were able to create a joint effort among the Collin County Toys for Tots Marine Corps League, the Celina Rotary Club, and the Celina American Legion Post.
Absolutely. And it's interesting to me you say the Marine Corps. I know you served. So give us a little bit of a background. What all have you done? You've been a Marine. I know that. I think you may have been in the Army. Give us the quick version of your military history.
Well, the Marine Corps was the short version of my military career because it only lasted 8 years, and then I spent the remainder of it in the Texas Army National Guard. I joined the Marine Corps when I was 17 years and 3 months, so I finished high school early just to join the Marine Corps because I thought it sounded fun.
So you actually joined the Marine Corps when you were 17 years old.
Yes, I grew up watching Gomer Pyle, and I thought he and Sergeant Carter were having so much fun.
You just had to go get some of it yourself.
I wanted to see what it was like.
Wow, that's amazing. What a great story. 17 years old. So looking back now at that, were you old enough to do that? Like, were you mature enough, I guess is the right way to ask that.
Oh, absolutely not. But once I got to MCRD San Diego, there's no buyer's remorse at that point. So
that's
you better
right.
become mature enough.
And they will help mature you quickly. So.
Yes, you'll learn to conform.
Absolutely. And how long ago was that? That's been a minute, right?
That was June of 1993.
June of 93. So when you decided you wanted to go into the Marine Corps, sometimes, I know a lot of my friends have had these big grandiose ideas of what they wanted to do. What kind of job did you want? What did you want your job to be, your function to be in the Marine Corps?
Well, going into it, of course, I first started thinking about it when I was 16, and I actually had no idea what the Marine Corps did. I walked into the office, and I was just kind of looking for something to do. It's one of those ready, fire, aim type of scenarios.
a little military joke there.
Yeah. And I just asked them, I said, the real question was, will you guys put me on a plane so I can travel? And the recruiter agreed to that. And so I was in.
I have a feeling, just based on a lot of the stories I've heard, sometimes the recruiters will agree to just pretty much anything. They'll tell you, oh, yeah, no, you're going to get this, and your boot camp's going to be easy and all kinds of stuff. Now, they didn't mislead you like that.
No, I didn't have. You know what? I'll be honest. I didn't have any of that, and I was a quick sell. I grew up in a very rural part of Oklahoma, and I didn't get to see much of the world. And I grew up with a lot of wonder about things I'd seen on TV. And I walked in the office, and that was kind of my way. I said, well, so I'll get a leave, right? And they were like, yes, you will. So at the time, I was like, well, that's a great deal. Yeah, sign me up. And
so you walked in, 17 years old, sign up, probably had to have a parental consent or something back then. And that career ended up lasting you how long?
Up until December of 2000, I decided it was time for me to go on and do something else.
So you separated from the military around December of 2000, and where has life taken you since then? Like, where have you been since December of 2000? Bring me up to speed from then until now.
Well, in December 2000, I came back from the Marine Corps. My last duty station was in Sicily, Italy. I repatriated to the USA, and I had that reverse culture shock after being abroad for 3 years. I still had trouble driving in the USA. I was a total foreigner. I landed in Allen, Texas. So right there, I got a job at the new AT&T data center, working in there as an inventory control manager.
Now, did that go back to, were you able to do that kind of work because of training you had in the military, or what actually did you end up doing in the military?
In the Marine Corps, I worked in logistics, and so that gave me the chance to learn about supply chain operations and international logistics. So I had some pretty exciting duty stations. I started out at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. I went to Tokyo, Japan, and next I went to Sicily, Italy.
Wow, so you did get to actually travel.
Yes, and I took some leave when I was in Italy and went up to Pamplona, Spain in March of 2000.
Wow.
And I got to see something that I'd never heard of, so I thought I would try it. It's called El Correro, the running of the bulls.
Wow.
Don't do it.
Yeah. So did you actually participate in that, or did you just watch it?
Oh, I participated. Who do you think you're talking to? Now, a little vino was involved in that feat.
Right. You needed a little bravery. You needed a little or impairment, whichever of the two.
However you want to call it.
Right. And so you actually did that. I've seen it before on like television, but I've never, obviously been there and done it. I don't even think if I was there, I wouldn't do it. So tell me about that. What was that like?
Well, we went to watch it because I was with some of the other guys I'd gone to Spain with, and we were going to watch it. That was the plan. But you got to remember, we were young guys, physically fit, and, a few wines, talking to some bullfighters in some bars. And I'm like, guys, we got this.
Next thing you know, you're out there on the street.
In a white suit, running. And I said, you know what? I can outrun any one of these dudes. That's all that matters. I don't have to be fast, just faster than the other guy.
Right. That's a very, very good point. So you get out there and you do it. Is it an experience you would recommend to someone else?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, how does it sound?
No, it sounds really dangerous, but and that's never really stopped me from some of the crazy things in the past. So you do get some travel time. You get back to the United States based on what you did in the military. It helps you get a job, and bring us fast forward from there.
So I worked at AT&T data center in Allen. That was when I first became a Texas resident, and I immediately fell in love with Texas. It's a great place, and had a really good time working at AT&T. And I wasn't out of the military for not even a full year when 9/11 hit. And it really sent a message to me internally. I didn't want to talk about it with people, but I was completely out of the military. I was not subject to recall. I'd served all my time. And so I waited it out because I didn't really know what was going to happen. But I immediately felt a call to serve. And I decided to go into the Texas Army National Guard.
So you, because of 9/11, you basically went back in the military.
Yes, I did.
Wow. So tell me about that. What'd you do? Did you end up staying stateside? Did you end up going overseas? What happened from that?
Well, it's kind of like when I joined the Marine Corps. I was a easy sell. I just asked the recruiter, what do I got to join to get sent over to Iraq?
So you wanted to go to Iraq?
That's what I wanted to do. It was I just felt the need to serve, and that's where it was at. I didn't care if it was Iraq or Afghanistan. The country had called.
Wow, what a remarkable thing to do. So that's impressive. That's so impressive. So tell me about that. Did you actually did make it overseas then? So did you go to Afghanistan or Iraq, or where did you go?
So the first place I went when I joined the Texas National Guard, I had to learn about how the Army functions, and I got a crash course on it by showing up. They gave me a uniform and said, you're in the Army now. And I went in as an infantryman, and we trained up at Fort Hood, and we got airborne and headed over there and landed in Baghdad.
I gotcha. And straight to Iraq.
Yes, we did.
And tell me about that. I mean, you're born and raised in Oklahoma, and you've served some time in the military. You're in logistics, and now 9/11 happens. You're right there in Baghdad. Tell me about it. What was it like?
Well, you don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of trepidation, some level of excitement. You're trying to figure out what you're going to do, what's going to happen. You're concerned for the people around you, and that's what keeps you going every day. You're just really concerned about people around you and doing whatever you're tasked to do. That's what matters from the day-to-day operations. I was really nervous about it. We got there and we did what we needed to do.
I gotcha. I understand. So give me an idea. So you're in Baghdad, Iraq. This is going to sound like a really off-the-wall question, but what's it like living-wise there? If you're in the U.S. military, you're in Baghdad, Iraq during that time period. What's it like? What's the food like? What's the culture like towards you? What's the whole world like as an American in that situation during that time period?
the invasion of Iraq was only about 2 years old at that time. So the entire infrastructure of Baghdad was still non-existent. It was terrible. So we landed, and I got to be honest, I was lucky to be in Baghdad. We were at what they call Camp Slayer, which was part of the Victory Base complex, which is near the Baghdad International Airport. So as far as conditions go, we had it better than a lot of guys, although we lived in a bombed-out Republican Guard barracks.
Wow.
So that doesn't sound very good. It didn't have plumbing, but it did have electricity.
That's important.
But as austere as that sounds, there was a lot of people who had it a lot worse. So I felt lucky, actually. So, we would do dismounted patrols in the city, and, we wanted to establish a good rapport with the people around us. Because, we always were reminded, and this is what you keep in your mind, is that we were not there to fight a war against the people of Iraq. We were there to help the people of Iraq. These were not bad people. There was an insurgency that did not like the American presence. If you remember, during the initial invasion, everybody wanted to get rid of Saddam because he was a bad guy. But the disagreement came when the coalition forces tried to help build a government.
So you end up in country, so to speak. How long did you end up spending overseas?
So that tour with 36th Infantry Division lasted a year.
And then did you exit the military after that was over? Or did you stay in for some time after that?
That's an interesting question, because when I had joined the Texas National Guard, I walked in and I signed up on a 1-year enlistment, and all I wanted to do was serve my time and leave. When I came home, I really liked the organization, and I was so proud as a Texan to be a member of it. So I decided to stay in, and I became an officer.
Wow, look at that. So for people that don't understand, you've got non-commissioned and then commissioned people. So kind of break that down for me real quick for people who are listening and they don't quite understand when you say I became an officer. Tell us what that means.
Well, the short way to explain it is your enlisted folks, those are basically your occupational workers, and your officers are your management employees. That's the quickest way to say it. And I chose to take the management route. So
at what rank in your particular organization with the Texas National Guard, what would that be, like a second lieutenant, or how would that work?
So once I completed officer candidate school, I was commissioned as a second lieutenant, and anybody who's in the military knows that a second lieutenant is a management trainee. Let's be honest here.
But it is the entry level of a commissioned officer. And so you stayed in for some time after that, then, I assume, because you worked hard to get to that particular point, or did you say, hey, okay, now I'm an officer, I'm out?
Oh, no. I always tell young lieutenants, they think because they've gotten through their commissioning, through college and everything, and then they arrive at their first assignment. There's this idea that, I've arrived, and the truth about that is no, now the work begins. The first thing a smart lieutenant will do is go talk to his platoon sergeant and learn.
Wow.
So, yes. So for myself, I was a maintenance officer. And as an enlisted soldier and Marine, I did not work in maintenance. I did not know anything about maintenance. So I went to that warrant officer, and he taught me what I needed to know.
That's very, very impressive. It's amazing, but if you have a really good, balanced, and I'm just going to say educated approach, if you've been in any sort of hierarchy before, you understand that you can learn so much from the people that are maybe not ranked as high as you, that are actually out doing the job.
Oh, yes, especially. And when you're talking to a warrant officer, that is a person who is deemed a subject matter expert. So
wow.
I always leaned on those folks really hard because they literally are experts.
So fast forward now, and you're in Celina, Texas. How in the world did you find your way to Celina, Texas?
Oddly enough, I was only a couple of miles from Celina, Texas for many years, but I never came up here.
So you were...
Frisco.
Okay, Frisco, yeah. A lot of people came up, myself included, from Frisco, or have been back and forth quite a bit. So you were in Frisco. And then what in the world made you move to Celina?
Well, in 2019, I was on active duty at Camp Mabry with the Texas National Guard, and I was an acquisitions officer. And my wife and I decided that we wanted to move to Austin, and we sold our home in 2018. We moved into an apartment in Aubrey because we had one of our children still had to graduate high school. So during that time, we thought we would get to know Austin and look for a home and so forth. And we decided that we just didn't want to move to Austin. We love going to concerts, but we just didn't want to buy a house there.
So you like part of the lifestyle of Austin, but you didn't like Austin, maybe?
It just didn't work out, you know.
It just didn't work out.
Yeah, it just didn't work out. But we really love the concerts, the parks. It's a beautiful city. It's a lot of fun.
Sure.
So then here we are now, living in an apartment. So I told my wife, I said, well, let's go find where do we want to go now. So we drove down 289. We saw Celina. We've driven through it plenty of times. Got on 455, drove through downtown, and we saw the square. And I said, this is gorgeous. This is where we're going to live.
So you fell in love with Celina because it just kind of overtook you like that. You're like, this is gorgeous. This is great. I love this. And what'd you think about the square when you first pulled up there and saw all that? Did you because to me, that's kind of one of the center stones of Celina. It's like the centerpiece. It's like, it's the city is built out around that, obviously, from its inception until now, but the current city government has done such a fantastic job of continuing to make that such a focal point. But what did you think about it when you first saw it?
I would say love at first sight.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that. And your wife, what did she think about it?
Oh, she was in love with it too, and we both agreed this is where we want to live. So I told her, you can find wherever you want to live, but it must be Celina. So that was literally the end of the parameters I'd given her.
That was your only requirement. Wherever you want to live, you choose everything, but let's make it in Celina, Texas, and that's awesome. And I think that the city of Celina is better off because you're here. You've got quite the history of being a volunteer here. I know you're very actively involved with the Rotary Club, and you've done a lot of other things, but let's talk about the Rotary Club. So for people who don't know, sometimes Rotary is a little bit of a mystery. Tell us about Rotary Club.
Well, the Rotary Club is an international charity organization. That's just the quickest way to explain it. And I knew about Rotary, and I had an uncle who was a Rotarian, and I never knew very much about it. And after I moved to Celina, I met a couple of friends here in town, and they're Rotarians, and they invited me to join them at their meetings. And when I saw exactly what they do for the community, I knew that's what I wanted to be a part of.
So you end up showing up for some meetings. Obviously, you've made some great friends there. I know that you know some of the same people that I know. Really, really amazing people involved in Rotary. And what are some of the different things that Rotary does around Celina? I know they've got the flag thing. I know they do the Toys for Tots. So tell me about some of those things.
So the Rotary, we always, our main focus within Celina is we want to do anything that's going to support the community without duplicating efforts or even competing with other efforts. So we have to be very cognizant of that. And I was very interested in serving, and I was immediately appointed to be the community service officer in 2021. So, I had a task ahead of me. And the first thing that we decided to do going into December of 21 was the Toys for Tots drive.
And tell me all about that. So I've attended it twice now. So last year and this year, and for me it's a great thing to do with my family because I have a 10-year-old. She loves to go to the store and let's just load up on toys and know that they're going for a good cause. They're going for a great purpose, and it's a good experience for her. It's a great experience for us. Do you have any idea what kind of impact has that had so far?
Whenever we take up collections for Collin County Toys for Tots, we always remind people that you are literally giving to Collin County. Every donation that you give to us stays in Collin County, and it will go to a Collin County child.
Nice.
And that aligns with Rotary's intent, which is to serve their community. And personally, the reason Toys for Tots, there's several reasons Toys for Tots is close to my heart. I can tell you I served in the Marine Corps. And, of course, the Toys for Tots is a function of the Marine Corps Reserve. But my children have been recipients of Toys for Tots toys before.
Wow.
You know, there was a time when I didn't make much money, and we actually got gifts from a church that got them from Toys for Tots.
I absolutely love that. That's amazing. What a great story. So now you kind of come full circle with this, and you're out there braving the cold, out there with the Marines, out there with the American Legion as well,
Yep.
Rotary Club, and collecting toys. And it's such a great event. This year, the mayor was out there. There was hot chocolate. It was just a fantastic event. So would you say this year was a success?
Oh, this year was very successful. We collect more toys than we did the previous year, and above all, the community involvement. In 2021, it was the first time we ever did an event. We didn't even know what we were doing. We were just hoping to get a few toys, and we were,
Let's go stand on the square and see if anybody shows up.
Yeah,
and they did.
Yeah.
But they did.
They did. And last year, in 2021, we filled up a small U-Haul truck, and that exceeded anything we thought we could do. So we knew that moving forward, we can make this event bigger, and we could do more to support Collin County children. And this year, the community involvement, I was overwhelmed with all the people from the community who came out and gave their support.
I love that, and it's fantastic. And one of the things that we like to do is we like to get to know the person who's on CelinaRadio.com just a little bit better. So I'm going to ask you some questions about Celina and what you like and don't like and things like that. So one of the most important questions I can ask you is, tell me one of your favorite restaurants in Celina. I think they're all good. We'll agree that they're all good, but what's one of your favorites?
Well, I will say this. I can attest that I've never had a bad meal in Celina. So
Right.
Kudos to everybody.
Right?
For me, Lucy's.
Lucy's is it, huh? That's so that might be kind of the go-to place. And give me an idea. If I walk in on any given day, KJ Clark is sitting there. I walk up, I shake your hands, I look on the table. What are you eating?
Punk Carter meatloaf.
Punk Carter. It happens to be one of my favorites. It's really, really good. And Punk Carter himself is such an icon in the area.
Yes.
So what are I think you get two sides with that. What are your two sides going to be?
Mashed potatoes and green beans.
You're such a Texas boy now. I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, what are you going to be drinking with that?
Lone Star beer.
Okay, yeah, you're fully in.
Yes.
You're certified Texan. You might as well go ahead and get you a Texas tattoo now.
I know. I just might as well get it. Yeah.
That's awesome. So that's fantastic. What kind of music do you like listening to?
I will say some people poke a little fun at me. If you sit in with me, I've always got my serious turn to Willie's Roadhouse.
Willie's Roadhouse, I love it. I love it. Personal favorite of mine as well.
Yeah.
So basically, we're 2 for 2 here. Punk's Meatloaf and Willie's Roadhouse. We're batting 100 here. I might be able to hang out with you.
Yeah,
so
maybe.
Give me an idea. So you like that kind of? That's a little bit of that's kind of nostalgic country. That's a little it's a little older sometimes.
Some people call it old man country.
Old man country. I'll take that. I like that.
But I love it.
That's right. That's awesome. So do you guys, you and your wife, your family, what kind of things do you guys like to do for fun? Do you do movies? Do you like to go to some of the places like Little Wooden Penguin here? What do you do for fun?
Well, my wife and I do like to go see a lot of music venues. When we were in Austin, we used to go to the Broken Spoke all the time.
Wow.
Now, if you know, that's a famous country music venue.
Absolutely.
So we also like to go over to the Stockyards. They've got Red's Little Longhorn Saloon over there. Where
Right.
they play a lot of the old man country.
The old man country. That's what I'm going to start calling
That's what it
now.
is. But, we like to go watch rodeos. So, we like to go watch rodeos, and if we can catch the fights up in Oklahoma City, I'm a huge boxing fan. Love to watch boxing.
And you know what? In doing my research, I always do a little research on everybody before I bring them on the show.
Uh-oh.
I did see a picture of you in the boxing ring. Tell me about that.
Well, I came to boxing way older than I should have. I was at the age where most fighters are retiring when I first laced up the gloves.
Wow.
So I was 33 years old. As a young man, I'd been an athlete, but I was a power lifter. And at 33, one day I just got bored with it. I was in the gym crushing some weights, and I saw a heavy bag over in the corner, and I thought, I'm pretty strong. I bet I could really fight. And then I went and hit the bag for a couple minutes. Well, it didn't last a couple minutes. Yeah.
I might have made it 1 minute.
Yeah, I might have. I was exhausted. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. So I'd always been a fight fan. And from there, I started training. And for me, it was just a hobby. And, it goes into something like God's plan, where it was something I wanted to do, so I got a chance to try it. I trained off and on for years. I would go to different gyms and sparring, and I got good enough so I could walk into any gym and really do well in the ring with regular guys. So I stepped up my game a little bit. When I was stationed with the Texas National Guard and the RGV, I started training at a boxing gym down there, and I got to become a professional sparring partner with the guy that fought for the world title.
Wow, that's impressive.
Impressive. It's really cool because you feel like you get to be a part of everything he's doing.
Right on.
And for me, that's the closest I'd ever get to any big time boxing. Unfortunately, I wasn't really good enough to be a pro. I was better than most, but I really respect the dedication and time that it takes to be a professional fighter. And I just did not have that kind of time to live it.
I mean, and you have to say, stepping into something like that in your 30s, that's rough. That's tough. That's not exactly an easy feat. That's a challenge.
Oh yes. When I started training, I don't think any of my sparring partners were my age, were near my age.
You're in there with like 20-something-year-old guys.
21, 22, and I'm
exactly.
35, 36.
Yep.
So
exactly.
But that's what you're going to experience, and boxing really helped me better develop my dedication whenever I choose to do something.
Right on.
And that's really what I took from it. And even if I wasn't the best fighter out there, I had a lot of fun, and most important was the relationships that I made. I made a lot of lifelong friends through that journey.
I think that's fantastic. I personally kind of took a parallel route, but all with martial arts. Mm-hmm. And I understand kind of some of the connections, the camaraderie, that sort of thing. I didn't do military. I did law enforcement. So our life's parallel in many, many ways. So I can relate to so much of what you're talking about. So fast forward to today, you're in Celina, Texas. And what do you do now? Like, what do you do for a living? What is your job now? What do you do?
Well, I eventually retired from the Texas National Guard, and now I have a small IT business.
Okay, small IT business. Help me understand. What would an IT business? What would an IT business do? Just, I was going to say,
like?
yeah. It sounds like IT work, but I mean, more specifically, is there something you specialize in, or is there something that you're kind of known for? I just don't. Unfortunately, I only see IT, and I run the other direction because it requires too much brain stuff. So here's where we're going to part ways. 100%. Okay. This is not my thing. If you love math, I'm out. If you love doing things like IT, I just can't get there. So talk to me.
Well, I'm gonna relate this back to God's plan.
Okay.
Because I'm like you. I don't think any of that's fun.
Right.
I accidentally got into it. So
accidentally got into IT.
Completely on accident.
Wow, I've got to hear this story.
So in college in 2000, I was a business major, and I thought I needed to take C++ because it was a business course.
Okay.
So I signed up, enrolled, and I wondered why on day one it was in the computer lab. I showed up and I found out this was a programming class.
Okay, so not a business class at all.
No, far cry.
Okay.
So once I was in it, I couldn't disenroll or I would have got an F.
Right.
So I had to do it. So I'm sitting in here learning to write code, and it just kind of grew from there. I realized, hey, you can do some really cool things with this stuff. So I went from C++, I learned how to write Java, SQL, and got into databases. So it was something that was really outside of anything anybody knows me would think that I ever did. But I literally fell into it on accident. And I continued as a side hustle for many years, building websites and working and doing small IT projects. But about 2010 or so, I realized I did not want to be a techie moving forward. But I knew the business. So I decided I would no longer keep up with that, but I would eventually move over and have a full-time tech business.
Okay, so explain to me, how does that manifest itself, or how did that actually play out for you?
Well, I finally decided when it was time to leave the military, I realized, oh my gosh, do you ever see Major Payne? Mm-hmm. And he says, sure, I got to get a job.
That was you.
Exactly. So I figured I would take what I could do and start small. So I was able to hire a couple of people working on some legacy systems for some companies, and we grew it from there. And it's been quite a journey. We're up to 8 employees now.
Wow!
So,
congratulations, yeah. That's awesome.
So
that is a success story. I like that.
Hey, we've stayed in the black every year. So as long as we can do that, I think we're doing pretty good.
That sounds good. And you keep saying God's plan. So and that always intrigues me. I really, really love the fact that you attribute much of your success in your journey to God having a plan for your life. Am I characterizing that properly? Is that how you feel about that?
Oh, I definitely feel that way. I've throughout my life, I've been in some situations where I probably shouldn't have made it, starting with the running of the bulls. But going on to Iraq.
God's like, didn't we give this guy a brain? Didn't we? Like, why is he down there running with those bulls? And then he know that that's not a good idea?
No. Nobody should do that. You would think I was a little smarter than that. But
it was a long time ago.
Yeah, they didn't teach that in college.
Right.
But I've been through situations in Iraq, Afghanistan, where other people weren't lucky, and whatever it was, I feel like I was blessed. And that's why, I'm a man of faith. I fall back on that all the time, and I know that whatever happens, there's a reason for it.
Absolutely, I love that. So we've covered a lot of things, and you're very, very prevalent in Celina. We see you on the square sometimes. We're going to see you at events, and I know you've got that heart of a volunteer, and you love to serve. Obviously, you have lived quite the life of service. You served for so many years. You served the country. Now you're serving your community of Celina, and it's clear to me you love Celina. I don't see you going anywhere. You're going to be doing this for a long time, but we don't just kind of cover those things on this show. Okay. We actually have a little fun as well. So you have no earthly idea what questions that I've got for you.
No,
one of the you've got
no idea.
I notice you're backing away from the microphone just a little.
Maybe I should exit.
You're like, my alarm just went off and I've got to leave. But one of the things that we like to do is play the adult version of Would You Rather. And if I had told you the questions in advance, you'd be able to prepare for them. That's why you didn't get the questions in advance. So I'm going to hop straight into this. You just answer with whatever comes to your mind, and we'll just
kind of edit this, right?
I can definitely edit this, but I have a feeling I'm not going to have to. So would you rather be 11 feet tall or 9 inches tall? The look on your face.
Well, it's such a contrast.
It is a contrast.
11 feet.
And why not 9 inches tall?
Well, maybe I would have been a better boxer if I was a little taller.
Well, there you go. 11 feet tall. I don't think you'd draw too many opponents that quit before you ever got in the ring with them. So,
yeah.
How do you think the running the bulls would have been if you're 11 feet tall?
Well, I would have ran even faster. I may even tried to be like one of them rodeo clowns and step over a raging bull.
You could probably do it.
There's guys who do that, and I don't know what they do. So, whenever the bar of insane, it's much higher than I'm willing to go.
Right. 100%. I'm with you on that. Would you, and I already know the answer to this one, I don't even have to ask. I've been around you enough to know this. Would you rather always be 10 minutes late or 20 minutes early?
2 hours early.
You are the epitome of a military man.
That's right.
And it just drives me insane. Literally, I'm always running behind, and you're always early. So when I'm looking at my clock and I'm like, well, if 5 minutes till, he's probably been there for 15 minutes already. That's just the way it is, right?
I'm what you would refer to as obnoxiously early.
Yeah, okay. Would you rather oversleep every day for a week or not get any sleep for 3 days?
I could say not get any sleep for 3 days because I've done it.
You've been there. You know what that's like, and you can already handle it. Would you rather get trapped in the middle of a food fight or a water balloon war?
Water balloon war. I've never really been on either one, but the food fight just sounds so messy.
Well, yeah, no, that makes sense. So would you rather have an extra finger or an extra toe?
Well, an extra finger, that would come in useful somehow. I don't, there's a lot of ways, I guess.
So you're 11 feet tall, you're at the running of the bulls, and you've got 11 fingers.
I don't know what the finger would do in that situation, but it couldn't hurt.
I think I could find you on the internet years after that happened. So would you rather be in history books for something terrible or be forgotten completely after you die?
Forgotten completely.
Wow, I like it.
No doubt.
I like it. Would you rather be like me and have a mullet for a year?
The mullet.
You're saying that because I'm sitting here right now with one.
But even as an 80s kid, I never had a mullet, and that's one of my regrets from my childhood.
That's so awesome. Well, you could still do one. They're actually back in style ever since country music kind of took a little shift here just a little while back. And they're apparently trending again.
Well, people started looking at Bill and Ray Cyrus and decided to, bring it. What did they say? Business in the front, party in the back.
That's awesome. Would you rather stay the age you are now or stay in your physical condition that you are now for the rest of your life?
Well, my physical condition is questionable.
So you'd rather stay this age?
Yeah, the age. I mean, we've already talked about everything I've done, so you can imagine my physical condition.
Yeah. Would you rather give up your cell phone for a month or being able to bathe for a month?
I would have to give up bathing.
But you've got your cell phone. You don't need to be around anybody.
Yeah,
so it's good.
Yeah, I can still read jokes on Facebook.
That's right. Would you rather be beautiful and stupid or unattractive and brilliant?
Well, I think that's what I am. So, God didn't give me that choice.
You're living the life right now.
I'm already there.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, last question. Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
Wow, that's hard to think about.
This is a guy who did the running of the bulls now. He's kind of like a professional now.
The 100 duck-sized horses.
Is that what you do? You'd fight off 100 of them?
I figured I could step on them or something like that.
Especially if you're 11 feet tall and you have 11 fingers.
Yeah, I'd find a way to get over them. But yeah, the big old duck, though, he might bite me or something. Swallow me up.
Awesome.
Like a Pinocchio situation when you're inside him.
That's right. I love it. All right. So I have to ask, I'm sitting here right now and I'm looking. You've got this really beautiful, thick, chunky, what is that, like turquoise and silver bracelet on? Tell me about that.
Well, I actually got this about a year ago from a Navajo jeweler in Houston at the International Rotary Convention. And when I saw this piece, I had to have it. I had been actually looking for a piece of native jewelry for about the last 2.5 years. And I passed on a lot of pieces because I wanted something that I felt was very true and representative of Native culture. I did not want to just buy something that I saw off the shelf. This was actually made by that Navajo jeweler, and that's why I thought it was something I wanted to have and wear all the time.
So what motivated you to look for a piece of like Native American jewelry like that?
Well, for several years, I was looking for something that I could wear daily that would truly represent my Native culture.
Okay, so you've got some Native American culture. That's very interesting. Tell me about that.
Yes, I'm originally from Oklahoma, and my family are all members of the Cherokee Nation.
Give me just a little bit of an idea. So what does it mean to be a member of the Cherokee Nation? Like, for someone who doesn't fully understand what that involves, give me a little bit of an understanding of the concept of being a member of the Cherokee Nation.
Yes. Well, my family has a very proud history going all the way back to the Trail of Tears. They originated from a town called Cochran, Georgia. So my great-grandmother, that was her family's surname, was Cochran. They came over, or not my great-grandparents, but my great-great-great-grandparents came from Cochran, Georgia, to Oklahoma Indian Territory on the Trail of Tears.
Wow, what a story.
Yeah.
What a story. So now, in order to honor that heritage, that lineage, if you will, you wear this and you conduct your life in some ways related to Native American lifestyle. How does this influence and affect your life today?
Well, I think it's very important to preserve Native culture because there's so many distractions with us in our world, and how actually nowadays all of our cultures have melded. But I still think there's still a need to preserve that and keep it individual. So, my wife and my son and I, we attend Indian powwows as often as we can, and I love to learn more about the Cherokee people in particular. One of the interesting facts is that the Cherokees were the first of the 5 civilized tribes to have a written alphabet.
Wow, very interesting.
So, yeah, that's just one of the little facts right there, but they're just such a rich history of the culture that I think it's important not only to preserve it, but to share it with new generations.
All right, KJ, thank you so very much, sir, for being on the show. Let me ask you this. Would you be willing to come back on the show down the road and let's touch bases again and let's see how the world is at that point? Would you come back on?
Yeah, it'd be good.
It wasn't terrible, was it?
No. You asked me some really interesting questions. I mean, the whole 11 finger thing, I didn't see it coming.
See that coming. You probably didn't see half this stuff coming. And that's the beauty of CelinaRadio.com. So, guys, that is KJ Clark. So, what did you think about KJ Clark? In my opinion, a guy who starts his life of service at 17 and gives very selflessly of himself. Commits himself to the Marine Corps, commits himself to the Army National Guard, goes overseas, does things that most of us would never do, comes back, and then gets involved in the most amazing city on the face of the earth, Celina, Texas, as, again, a servant, a volunteer, somebody who gets out there and makes a difference. I'll tell you what, I'm impressed by him from the word go. And the fact that he has such a strong heritage with the Cherokee Nation and his pride in the value he sees in continuing to share the history and the heritage of the Indian and tribal culture with all of society now just speaks volumes for him. So, guys, I'm very, very impressed with him. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I hope you enjoyed this show. We've got a lot of fantastic people coming on this show. And it's just going to be a great time to be in Celina. Like I said, we've got this little rough patch we're about to go through with the politics. And it's going to, be one of those deals. It's typical. It's small town stuff. We're in a state of growth. It's going to be tough for a second. But you know what? We're going to make it to the other side. And we're going to be better off for it on that other side. We're going to elect the proper leaders. We're going to grow the city the right way. And we're all going to benefit from that. So after I sign off here in just a second, I'm going to play a song from Grease. I don't mean the musical movie with John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. I mean a literal song from Grease. Turn it up. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. And guys, until the next show, stay safe and God bless.